with the Lorelei signal. We have Star Trek's take on an old classic myth about the sirens, soothing and singing, luring sailors to their demise. And such was the case in this story, where the Enterprise responds to this signal, but it has a different effect on men than it does on the women, which was no effect at all as far as the women were concerned. And the men seem to get more and more in a trance-like state, and then Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and, I don't know, some red shirt beam down to the planet, and there's all these hot babes, and they're like, oh, boy, they're so happy to see some men. And so they pamper them and treat them nice and all that. And then all of a sudden they get weak and pass out. A little later they wake up and they're all shriveled up old men. Well, it turns out the girls are a bunch of, I don't know, vampires of some sort. They just suck, not in a good way, the life force out of you. And that replenishes them. And apparently they'll live forever. They're immortal and stay, young and beautiful and all that sort of stuff. Well, Uhura and Nurse Chapel noticed that, hey, things aren't normal around here. And their suspicions are confirmed when the men attempt to escape. They get into this garden and they hide in this giant urn thing. And then Spock heads back because he's the strongest of the bunch, being Vulcan and all that, and is able to send back word to the Enterprise to say we need a rescue squad, and it has to be all female. So sure enough, Uhura leads a squad down there, and the siren girls are not having any of that. You're not wanted here. Well, Uhura whips out the old phaser, and that tells them who's boss. And so they're trying to find where the crew are. Well, it turns out they have this thing there that can show everything, which is one of the plot holes in it. I mean, since they were looking for Kirk and the other guys earlier, it seems like those broads could have just used their, magic viewer thingy and find them. But, oh, well, they didn't. And this is how they find them when they head back, because the storm has started and it's starting to fill up full of water. And they're too old and weak to climb out of the urn, so they're going to drown if they don't get out. Well, Uhura and the girls show up and blast it with the phaser. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt them. And it opens it up and they get out. And one of the interesting aspects about it is the solution to their predicament is one that Spock comes up with, which is, one of these things about the transporter and also the replicator and stuff. I've always said, well, that's the power of God. And but it logically, of course, it stands to reason that this is very possible and is actually a better solution to the one they had in the deadly years in the original series, where this particular form of radiation made them all rapidly age. Except for Chekhov, and they realized because Chekhov had gotten scared when he found the corpse of the colonists or whatever, and they realized adrenaline was the cure. And maybe it would have prevented it from happening, but I don't know that it would reverse the process once it happened. It might have stopped the aging, but they would still be these, old, shriveled up people. But here, Spock comes along with a better idea, where he says, well, hey, look, our patterns are still programmed within the transporter data or computer or what have you, and all you got to do is beam us down and then reset it to that pattern when you beam us back. And so that's exactly what they do, and when they come back, they're back to the way they are. Now, the interesting thing about that, I would have thought it would appear to them that the day had never happened, because they're reset and their brain patterns and everything would be as it was before they left the ship initially. So they're like, hey, what's going on? And they said, well, sit down. We got a story to tell you. And all that stuff. So once the Lorelei girls are defeated, Uhura says, well, we're going to round you bitches up and haul you off to this other colony where away from the bizarre properties of the planet, you'll become normal women. and all that stuff. Because of the condition, they did have some men with them, but they all shriveled and died. Whereas the women developed a certain gland that enabled them to suck the life out of them. So, but the cost of it was that they couldn't bear children. So they're all upset that they couldn't be mothers and all this stuff. So now, well, they're going to go to some planet and get knocked up and have kids and grow old and die. But, they won't be vampires anymore. So there's certain elements here where, Uhura had to take command and take this. It's too bad this wasn't part. They could have done these cartoon stories. They all could have made pretty good scripts for another season of Star Trek, and it's too bad it didn't happen that way. Some of the liberties you can take with animation, even though the animation's pretty poor here, but still you get to see more alien environments and more aliens themselves, and more complex spaceships and that sort of thing. They wouldn't have been able to pull that off more on the show, and with the budget it had, and with basically the special effects technology you had at the time. So, but they would have gotten around it. The basic premise of this, they could have done it easily. Would have been a Star Trek episode of this sort of thing. Even though it's a bit repetitive of them getting old prematurely and that sort of thing, but then again, they did quite a bit of repetition in there. But at least they weaved it into interesting ideas and whatnot. But the idea that the women take over and have to come rescue the men and all that, well, that would have been seen progressive and whatnot. But no, hold your horses. You see, the reason Spock calls for all females is because they were not affected by this hypnotic power that these life force vampire women had. But this just assumes the sexuality of all the women. See, in today's Star Trek, just about all of them, because they would have at least been bisexual, so they all would have been seduced by these vampires. And so the entire crew of the Enterprise would have been taken in and drained of their life force and killed. But there could be one potential savior, and that would be the non-binary characters who just weren't into women that day, and could save the rest of the crew. So maybe that's how that would have played out. Good Lord, if Kurtzman should happen to watch this, he says, "Oh, I got an idea for a show." So yeah. Anyway, but this is one of the episodes I do remember from having initially seen it when I was a kid. And that's about it. I think the one where Spock goes back in time, that's the one. So I guess once I start watching more of them, I think it'll probably click and all that. But the one with the tribbles, I know they go back with that too. So there's that. So yeah, it's starting to come back to me. But it's just kind of like, it's like a brand new show. It's kind of nice with actual Star Trek. So. But it's a pity they didn't get another season at least, because some of these could really work as Star Trek episodes of the original series. But you got them in this form, so I'll take it. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.